Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my mid-month wrap-up. It is the middle of June and I am going to go ahead and share the 8 titles that I have read for the first half of the month. I am currently in the middle of a couple things, but we're not going to talk about those. Those will be at the end of month wrap-up for me, and I just really needed to go ahead and get this filmed, so that's what we're doing. Hi, hello, welcome back if you're new here. I do mid-month wrap-ups every month where we check in on all the books that I've read in the first half of the month. It just makes the whole month wrap-up way faster and way easier on me. So with that being said, we're going to start with the way we always do, going from the least read genre to the most read genre, and I usually start with my manga because that is usually the least amount of things that I read most of the time. So this month that is definitely the case. I have read a couple manga though that I really want to talk about. First of all, I read Can't Stop Cursing You. This is a manga about a curse killer who gets in contact with a curse god who then is killing people throughout the school. He is very much a light Yagami-like character. If you've watched Death Note or you've read Death Note, you will know that's one of my favorite series, and very much like Light Yagami. And then our other character is, I can't remember his name, but he is the curse breaker. So he is very much a L type of character. I quite enjoyed this a lot. The art style was a little hard to follow sometimes. I did talk about that in my vlog. And I will link that down below, but the art style was pretty dark and the panels were very, very tight into the corners. So it was a little harder to read this one in particular. So I might be switching to a digital version of it. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time reading it. I gave it a 3-star or a 3.5 star. I do plan on continuing out this series. I don't know where that cut off, but I am definitely going to continue the series. I think switching to the digital will make me enjoy it a lot more. So I am very excited to see where the story goes and to see how I feel about it as it continues. So I also read Devil's Line. This is volume 1 that I did finish. This is a paranormal romance type of manga. It's about this girl who is friends with this guy. He ends up being a vampire. She finds out he's a vampire and she is saved by this guy who is a half human, half vampire, and it's their romance. Vampires, humans are not really supposed to be together, but they know that they're there. And yeah, he's a half human, half vampire. He is struggling to like control himself around her, but he can't stay away from her. It's very adorable. I'm definitely interested in reading the rest of the series. I gave this a 4-star. It was really, really fun. The art style was very easy to read and really, really enjoyable. And this is also on KU, so I read this digitally, and it was overall an amazing experience and I just really, really liked it. I cannot wait to see how the relationship between these two develop and how it goes on in the future. So really like this one, and I definitely recommend it as well. And then I read my favorite manga of the month so far. This was Dick Fight Island. If you are new here, hello, hi. We recently read Dick Fight Island on a live stream on Izzy's channel. This was a very fun manga. This was a male manga where they literally have to fight to become the new king, and the way they fight is they wear dick armor. This is ridiculous. It is literally the most ridiculous thing I could talk about. But they wear armor, and then the first one to finish loses, and the last one standing as they go like through these battles is the one that gets to become the king. It was really interesting. It was absolutely hilarious. It was over the top in every way possible. The way that this was censored was just absolutely comical because it does not hide anything. Like, you can still very clearly see everything going on, and it was delightful and I loved it. Check this out. It's only going to be 2 volumes and it's absolutely hilarious. I am thrilled about it. So I actually lied. I have 2 other categories that I didn't realize I had just now, and there's only 1 each. So we're just going to go through them pretty quickly. So first of all, we have a YA fantasy, which does not happen for me very often, but I did read The Raven Boys this month. I have already read The Raven Boys in the past. This is a reread for me. I absolutely adore Maggie Stiefvater and I love the characters in this story. It was a lot of fun to get to revisit this world and revisit these characters. Obviously this was a 5-star read. I absolutely adore the Raven Boys. I love Blue and I love the girls at 300 Fox Way. I love everything about this story and about these characters. and about the way that it's written. It's so beautiful and lyrical, and I just love it so, so much. If you don't know what The Raven Boys is, it is a YA fantasy. Well, I would say it's more of like a speculative fiction rather than fantasy, but it kind of is still fantasy, about this girl named Blue who is destined to kill her one true love, and if she kisses him, he will die. And at the beginning of the story, she ends up finding her one true love on the ley line, which is a it's a I can't explain what a ley line is. Ley lines enhance magical and psychic abilities, and there's like more magical things going on the ley line, and every year on a certain day you will see the people who will die in the next 12 months, and she sees her one true love on the ley line, and it's the story of her dealing with this and also eventually meeting her one true love, and it's absolutely adorable. I love these characters. I love everything about it. I am going to be continuing the series. I'm going to be continuing my reread. I had such a good time reading this. I'm just so thrilled that I got to revisit these characters again because I love them so much. So the audiobooks are fantastic, by the way. I am listening to them this time around. They're fantastic, and it's delightful. It's so delightful. So then I read My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I have enjoyed other books by him in the past. I read Horror Store and I really liked it. This one I gave it 3.5. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of interesting concepts where it definitely felt like an 80s horror exorcism kind of situation, like an 80s movie with like an exorcism at the like forefront of it, because this is a girl gets possessed by a demon and it's her best friend, and this is taking place in the 80s, and it is their friendship over the entire time of like when they were growing up, then through the exorcism, her trying to get her best friend back, and just the way that their life unfolds because of the situation. I really enjoyed this one. I really, really enjoyed all of the horrific elements that went into this, which were included of like the exorcism, the best friend going into like disarray in a way because of the demon taking hold of her life, and just the way that she deteriorated in the story. It was very, very interesting. The storytelling was really well done too, because you could obviously tell like this was a story from the past and you were eventually going to like know for sure what was going to happen. Like you knew the character telling you the story knew what was going to happen, and I really enjoy that with books and also with movies. It's just something I really like. That's a storytelling method that I just really enjoy. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. It was very fun and fast paced, and it kept me engaged and on the edge of my seat the entire time I was reading it. I did find some aspects of it a little predictable, and I just didn't love this as much as I have loved other books around the same kind of topic, and just this wasn't one of my favorite horror books, and though it was very interesting and very fast paced, it did struggle to keep my attention in certain places. So this just was not one of the better horror books that I've read, but it was still a really enjoyable read, and I do recommend you check it out if you are at all interested in the concept of 80s horror with an exorcism. So then I read Witching Moons, which was a Sapphic paranormal romance with witches, and I just want to say this is the most precious sweet thing. This is about our heroine who doesn't have a lot of like magical abilities. She is very much like not looked at in the same way as her sister because she doesn't have like the magical gifts that her sister has, and she ends up getting roped into performing the Yule blessing, and she accidentally summons the moon, and it is her relationship with the moon and a celestial being. It is absolutely freaking delightful. It's adorable. I love the female romance in here. I loved the way these two characters interacted. I loved the way they got to know one another. I just loved everything about this, down to like just the way they interact for the first time. It is so stinking cute. The only thing I would say is if you listen to the audiobook, the voice for Luna, who is our heroine's love interest, is just a tad bit annoying whenever the main character is speaking from her perspective. But overall, it was absolutely adorable, top-notch. Highly, highly recommend it. It is so stinking cute. I gave this a 4-star. It was so good. I love sapphic romances, and I just want all of them. And this was steamy, in case you need to know. So, not like super steamy, but there's some steam in here. Like, things go down. So then I read The Christmas Pact, which was a novella. This is about our heroine whose name is Riley Kennedy, and then the guy's name is Kennedy Riley, so their names are just flip-flopped, and they have like emails that are getting exchanged back and forth with one another, and it's getting really frustrating for Riley because Kennedy continues to open her emails and it's making her really annoyed, and they end up going into like a fake dating situation where they go home with each other for the holidays, and she has to like go to the wedding for him and he has to pose as her boyfriend for her mom. I loved both of the characters in here. The hero was absolutely so precious and so soft, and our heroine was just like, she was so funny and I just loved everything about her. She was just like full snark, and she was just like, no. And she tells him off and she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. And he ends up showing at the airport after he gives her the option of like, hey, if you want to like do that, like if you want to fake date and like do this for each other, I'll do it. And he ends up showing up at the airport after she didn't tell him yes. And he's like, well, I figured I'd just go home, and if you decide to change your mind on the way there, I'm already here for you to make the decision. So it was really, really cute. I love a persistent hero. Adorable. There is no steam in this, and I could not tell. I didn't even notice until the book was over. So try it out, please, and thank me later. So then I read Malice. This was by Natalie Bennett. This was a very dark romance, but not really a romance. It was very interesting. This was a very dark story where our heroine is taken captive. She's taken captive. She is really trusting of this guy, and she starts to like see him and she starts to feel really deep emotions for him. She starts to fall in love with him. He ends up taking her captive after that, and basically says, because she tries to end their relationship, and he's like, no, we're getting married. And he is like really highly involved in like criminal activity, and he ends up taking her captive, and she's starting to question like, why does the person that I love, why are they treating me so badly? Why are they keeping me here? Why are they holding me hostage? Like, why are they doing this and that? And she ends up figuring out that he is a part of like this underground kind of snuff film situation where he like has red rooms on the dark web where he's killing and torturing people. She finds out that there are people really close to her that are also involved, and it's kind of her figuring things out. And there's not an HEA at the end of this. There are more books, so I'm assuming that there's going to be an HEA at the end of one of the books, but I don't know. I've not finished them. This was like a really wild ride you couldn't look away from, but like in a good way, not like a bad way. I gave it a 3.5. I'm definitely interested in continuing it, and I really liked the dark themes, but the problems I had were just, it's not that it was the storytelling wasn't great. I wasn't a huge fan of the writing, so it was a little harder to enjoy, even though it was such an interesting and compelling like storyline and like idea. But I did read this on the Alexa app. She read it to me. That did not hinder the experience. I actually quite enjoyed that experience. It was mostly the writing when I was physically trying to read it. So that was part of the issues, that and like just some of it was like a little choppy and like weird, like just the way things were written were just, it was just a little weird in places. But I did enjoy it a lot, and I definitely plan on continuing the series and reading more from this author. So that's all of the titles that I've read so far in the month of June. Let me know down in the comments what books you've read in June. I am very excited to talk about the books with you and see what we have all read. I know that I've had a pretty good reading month so far already. I have read a little bit out of my comfort zone, out of normal for what I typically am going for. I tried to break it up a little bit at the beginning of the month because I was just kind of feeling a little burnout after all the paranormal romance, but it's fine. We're coming back. We're doing strong. We are doing good. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave me a birthday cake emoji down in the comments, because I missed my upload for last week and it was my birthday. So go ahead and drop me a birthday cake down in the comments, and I will chat with y'all in my next video. Bye everyone.